But today I want to help you. Everybody kind of knows obviously what's going on right now. For me, I'm all about like right action, right time. I think probably the majority of you are the same way that I am. But there's no debating like right now what the time is. The time is right now to put 100% efforts on focusing in on promoting the event. And I've been very blessed to have some amazing mentors teach me about how to promote events real well. And I would say over my career, probably one of my strengths is that because of my mentors, not because of me. You guys all know my background. There's no reason why I should be successful. 17 years old when I got involved in this profession 30 years ago. Had no business being in business, but I had some people take a unique liking to me because I was always showing up in the front row, taking notes, and they said this kid wants it, and they invested the time to teach me how to do it. And over the last 30 years, it's been more than a dream come true. But this training today, I think, is going to be something that it's going to be an eye opener for most of you. This content, I don't think anybody probably has seen anything like this before. Um, and it's really going to it'll be one of those trainings where you walk off like, whoa, I can't believe what I just saw. It'll be like that. And I want to jump into it because it's kind of a little bit of content to cover, but I promise you, if you follow along and take notes, it can be one of those, it will be a training that will make a major impact because it's going to teach you an entire new skill set. It's going to take you through an entire new skill set. So I'm going to jump into this right now. Let me see if I can get this PowerPoint slide deck up and really cover. I'm going to share with you something that I'm calling the 6 secrets to overcoming objections for convention. Everybody right now is promoting conventions, and just wanted to make sure you guys knew that I still had that, that video. But I want to give you some nuggets on, and I'm going to first take you kind of a little bit about objections. I think for me, I was thinking about this morning when I was getting ready. I honestly think for me, the first year, maybe the first 8 months in my career, I used to hate objections, right? I used to hate objections until I kind of until I was mentored and coached on really what objections are. So I'm going to take you through all that today. And then I'm going to get into probably the top maybe 14, 16 objections you'll hear, how I overcome them, and it's and the formula for overcoming objections. The biggest thing is the formula, right? I want to teach you the formula today. And I really feel like honestly, like if you really, really, really try to get from this training, it's going to take you through it's going to take your business honestly and your career to a next level. Helps out with everything, right? Overcoming objections is super important. But let's first off, and I hope these are in order. I know there's going to be, I promise you, there will be many typos. Okay. Jermaine's right now probably thinking, yeah, there'll be typos, Tim. So just let me know when you see them. I literally didn't start this training until I got done with, I had 6 calls last night and I got done at 11 o'clock. So I started this training at 11 o'clock and you'll see there's a lot of content here. So here's what I want to show you. The first thing about like the first secret to overcoming objections is you've got to make sure that you're relational, not transactional. When it comes to promoting the event, I don't promote the event because I want people to become wealthy so I make more money. You understand? Like I genuinely want people to attend the event because I know that they're not going to get to where they want to go if they don't, right? So you understand what I'm saying? Like if you're trying to get people to the event because you're like, ooh, I want to get them to the event so they make more money, so I make more money. You can't look at people like dollar signs. You got to just love people and help them and you can't force anybody to become successful, right? My mentor told me you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. But if you can get them to the convention and learn how to do that, you can learn how to get them thirsty, right? Like you can lead a horse to water, can't make them drink, but you can learn how to make a horse thirsty. And that's by getting them to the convention. So for me, it's like I want to get people to conventions because I know I would have never made it. And everybody a lot of you guys know that I've coached personally, recruited over 25 people in my career that I've helped make over 1 million a year over the last 30 years. And every one of them wouldn't have been successful if it wasn't for the convention. And majority of them didn't want to go to the first one, but I kind of basically cared about them so much that I helped them get to the event, right? So I'm more relational. I don't try to get people to events because I want to help them make money because I want to make more money off them. I want to help them make more money because I want them to make more money. I just love seeing people realize their goals and dreams. So you want to be relational, not transactional. Transactional, they focus on goals and outcomes. Relational, long-term connection. Transactional people, their motivation is self-interest, immediate gains. Relational people, mutual benefits connection. Transactional people, short-term, task-oriented. Relational, long-term, emotionally invested. That's their nature. Transactional people are very superficial. Relational people are very deep. Transactional people quick business deals, relation people. It's about a close friendship, right? So we want to be relational, not transactional. Okay. Just 5 keys of creating a win-win agreement. This is from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I know probably most of you already read that. But the five keys of creating a win-win agreements: mutual benefit, right? Win-win agreements focus on the solutions that benefit everyone involved, not just one party. So when you're trying to get somebody to the event because you want to make more money, and that's why you want them to go so they make more money, that's just about transactional. But if you really want them to win, you've got to understand, you got to get them to the event, right? Cooperation in the mindset of collaboration instead of working together to achieve shared goals. If I'm working with somebody, I've got an objective, right? To help them get to where they want to go, to help them reach their goals and dreams. Same probably with all of us. But I know in order for us to do that, sometimes we got to have uncomfortable conversations, which is like maybe sometimes about getting them to the convention, right? And we have a shared goal. Is my goal is their goal. Whatever their goal is what my goal is. I've got to help them get what they want, right? An abundance mentality is super important for win-win agreements. Obviously, high courage, consideration. You've got to make sure that you're focusing in on what their needs are. And if their needs are they really need this business to work, then guess what? Right? You got to get them to the event. Building trust, win-win agreements, foster stronger, more trusting relationships. When you're pushing somebody to get to the event, maybe not necessarily because they don't know what they don't know, and you know what's going to happen to them if they go, and you know what's going to happen to them if they don't go, right? So it's like you break it out, and you really show your compassion and your love for them, you're going to be able to move them into action, right? So touch a heart before you ask for a hand. To help someone get what they want, what they're looking for, first you got to find out what they're looking for. So if you don't know what your team's looking for, it's going to be hard for you to help them get it. So if I know what my team wants, if I know what every individual that I'm working with wants, what I got to do is what, right? I got to focus on getting them to that. Now, if somebody wants to make $50 a month to take the kids to Chuck E. Cheese, they might not necessarily need to be at the convention. But if they want to retire a family member, or they want to be able to, set up a retirement program, or be able to create residual income, or be able to buy a beautiful house, whatever their goal is, I know they ain't going to get that if they don't go to the event. If they don't go to the event, there's a pretty good chance I'm never going to see them again, right? So all the time that I've invested up into them, it's going to be wasted, right? So I really make sure that I touch a heart before I ask for a hand, discover the why. You got to know what they want, become the master of, family occupation, recreation, money. You've got to always find out what your team wants so you can help them get it. You're not recruiting, right? What we're doing is making new friends, right? We're making friends for a lifetime, right? We're making new family members, right? Brothers and sisters. Care more about the person than the transaction. Talk about, destination, not the vehicle or the route to take. Like, give you an example. Like, if let's say that if you talk about the vehicle, talk about the route, talk about the destination, right? The vehicle is obviously Riman. The route is obviously getting to conventions, right? Rank advancing, and what obviously getting on the orientations, opportunity calls, doing your K pop-ups. That's the route, right? But the destination is where we want to go. So when I'm getting somebody to the convention, am I going to talk about Riman? Am I going to talk about the route? Am I going to talk about the destination, right? It's like, boom, right? I'm not going to talk about the inner workings of an airplane, right? I'm not going to talk about the flaps on the airplane. I'm not going to talk about the route to get to where we want to go. I'm going to talk about where we want to go. If we want to go to Disneyland, we want to go to Disney World, what do we got to do, right? Talk about Disney World. That's what's going to get somebody excited, mainly a kid, right? But when you're talking to people about the event, I'm focusing on where we're going with this opportunity, because I don't take my eyes off the prize. Okay. So now questions are the answer. When it comes to overcoming objections, I'm going to get into some really good stuff here in a second. This is from one of my favorite books, How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less, by Nicholas Boothman. He really created a great one with this. But the 7 most important reminders about questions. Questions are the spark plugs of conversations. You got to be asking questions. When you're talking to your people, you got to be asking questions about what they want to get out of the business, because then you're going to have that conversation about, we got to get you to the convention, right? You don't just, a lot of people, what they do nowadays is they're just lazy with language, right? They'll just make a post and be like, all right, everybody come to the event. It's like, what? You know what I mean? Like, they're not really touching people's heart, right? You're not really connecting with people. You've got to make sure you make a list of who you got coming to the event, confirmed, everything confirmed. And then you got to look at the people that you want to get, and you got to knock them off the fence, right? So you got to reach out to those people, take it seriously, right? We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You want to answer questions with a question to let people know that you're listening, right? So when I ask a question and somebody answers it, I'm going to always repeat that question, repeat it back to them, and make sure you engage in a dialogue, right? With somebody. Open door questions: what, when, where, why, how. We know that. Closed door questions limit response. Get into what people are saying by spoken feedback. Oh, really? Okay, nice. Ooh, I love that. That's awesome. You're right. That's spoken feedback. And then also a physical feedback, nodding your head, listening. Like you got to show people that you're listening. Stop talking and start asking questions, right? So that's from that book. I'm not going to get too much into it. I want to talk about you want to welcome objections. Okay, I'm going to move through this fast, but I promise you, we're going to get into the objections and you're going to be like, bam, that's beauty. Okay. So the secret to overcoming objections, number three, is you want to welcome objections. Okay. So like give you an example. This is a great book by Jeb Blunt, Objections. Objections are buying signs, not rejection signs. I think that's the biggest misconception that new people make. I know I made that at the beginning. I thought an objection meant they didn't want to do it, right? An objection was like, hey, this is where you need to spend more time talking to me about it, right? This is where I have a little bit of hesitation right here. Don't need to talk about this over here. I got that, but I need you to talk about this. So if you don't hear objections, you really honestly like people are like if you aren't going to do something, you're just going to say nope. You know what I mean? Nope. Like when I'm sitting down getting somebody started, like after the Monday VIP event, when I got my guests there and I'm signing them up, if they stand up and walk away, I know they don't want to join. If they're still sitting there, I know they want in, right? If somebody's on the phone with me, they want me to get them to see it, right? Because they don't want to fail. Nobody wants to lose. They want to win, but they need to buy your confidence and conviction, right? So objections are buying signs, not rejection signs. Objections are the natural process in the decision making, right? In the decision making process. Okay. And they give us knowledge on where to spend more time. Like if you're just not hearing objections or they're not giving you any type of response, that's tough because you're just shooting in the dark trying to guess where to spend time at when you're overcoming an objection and trying to get somebody started. But if they're like this, they're like, hey, it's too far. Jackpot. Boom. Now I know. Gotcha. Right. Once I hear your objection, I gotcha. You're in, right? Because I'm not going to let you lose. You understand? People are either everybody's trying to sell, right? Right. So you're trying to sell them on becoming successful, and they're trying to sell you on their excuses why they're not going to be successful, right? So who's buying, right? You know. So bottom line is this, right? You need objections in order to know where to spend time at. An objection is simply a sign that a person is seriously interested, right? They're really interested in going. They just have this one area that you need to remove, okay? And most objections are misunderstandings that need to be addressed or questions that need to be answered, right? It's like somebody says it's too far. In my mind, I'm thinking to myself, if the event was on the moon, I would find a way to get there. You know what I mean? Like that's the way I would be. I would be going down to NASA and being like, hey, how did we do this last time, man? I want to make it happen, right? So like there's nothing that somebody could say to me that I would say, all right, yeah, I feel like you feel, right? I'm like, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't feel like that, right? Because there's nothing that could stop me from getting to an event because I've been unsuccessful in my career the first 6 months, and then I've been successful for 29 and a half years. So there's certain decisions that happened in that first year that made me become successful. And one of them is completely, I bought 100% always into the event, right? And that's how I've been able to build my business from the very beginning, right? So there are no new objections. There's no like new ones, right? You know, there was one that we heard this time. My wife was like, what do you have a bunch of 12-year-olds in your organization? Like how, like I've never heard this. She goes, I remember when we built with 18, 19-year-old people when we first got in, she goes, they didn't even say that kind of stuff. But you'll hear some new objections maybe every 10 or 20 years, but there's not really too many new objections, okay? Repeat the objection and jump on their side and become an assistant buyer. So when somebody says an objection, you don't want to just totally rebuttal it, right? You want to repeat the objection. That's the most important thing. You want to always repeat the objection. So if somebody says, hey, you know, it's too far for me to go, or I don't have the money, or whatever excuse they use, you're going to repeat the objection back. Oh, okay, cool. Like, and usually if sometimes you have to diffuse stuff, right? And diffusing a situation is like where somebody's mad, right? And they're like, it's too far, right? Like, that's just loaded objection. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, so basically what you're saying is like Long Beach is too far for you, right? So you want to always like when you say it back, you remove the emotion, right? And then it tells them that you're listening, right? If you just jump into trying to overcome the objection, now you're going to get into a confrontation. Jump on their side, be a rational thinking person, be like, all right, let me make sure I got this straight. So right now, the only thing that's slowing you down from coming to the event is that you think that Long Beach is kind of far, right? I totally get it, right? Look, serious. And then I'm going to use my cushion. I'll talk about that in a second. But then my cushion's like, okay, I could, hey, look, I know what you're talking about, right? For me, I'm the type of person where it's like, I'm not really excited whenever I have to travel, you know, what, like plane rides wherever they're at, 6 hours, 5 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours, whatever. I'm not the kind of person that just enjoys that. You know what I mean? Like, so I totally get where you're coming from. And then I'm going to remove the objection, right? So basically, when I remove objections, I totally jump on their side. I don't just do like feel, felt, found. That's like the basics. Like I know how you feel. You know, a lot of people felt like that, or many people felt like you feel. I know how you feel. Many people felt like that, or whatever you want to use for that one. And then here's what they found out, right? That one's like the basics, but I'm like, you sound like me. Like I was totally like you. That's how I was, right? So I really jump on their side, and and really do that. So this is super important. This is number 4. Why cushions are mandatory. Cushions are the most important part in removing an objection. So there's sympathy versus empathy, right? This is a book called Zig Ziglar's Secrets of Closing a Sale. Here's what I want to tell you. Like some people don't like the word closing. Oh, closing, that just sounds bad. Like, but for me, it's like it depends on what your intentions are. Like if I'm closing somebody because I care about them and I want to make sure that they get to where they want to go, that's okay. But if you're closing somebody for your benefit, then you're more transactional. Like honestly, to me, it's like if they don't do the business, I'm still going to become wealthy. You understand what I'm saying? Like I'm doing this for them, right? I don't need anybody, right? You can't need people and lead people at the same time, right? So it's like for me, it's like I'm honestly getting them to the event because I want to see them win. It's not because I'm like, I want to get this person to the event so I can make more money. It's like that's going to happen regardless, right? You can't keep on working the way that I work. And many of you are the same exact way. You're going to win no matter what, but you got to get your people there so they can benefit too, right? You don't want to have people miss out. So sympathy versus empathy is important to understand. Sympathy means you feel like the other person feels. Empathy means you understand how the other person feels, but you don't feel the same way. Okay. So like give you an example. If you're on a boat with somebody and they're throwing up over the deck, sympathy says, man, I know how you feel. I'm kind of sick too. And you start throwing up, right? That's sympathy. Empathy is like, I know how you feel. Let me go get you a Dramamine. And then you start pinching right here on their arm, get them some water and hold their hair, right? If they're your girl, if they're your buddy that is a girl, right? So, or some guys have long hair too, but let me hold your hair. Here's some water. Here's a Dramamine. Man, I know I felt like that before, but let's get you out of there, right? So sometimes people have sympathy where they hear an objection and then they're like, well, you know what? I kind of feel like that too. And then they start thinking that way, right? Like that's kind of newer leaders are like that, or people that have never really been in leadership before. They're kind of weak. And I was like that too, right? When I first got involved in this profession, I was like, oh my God, oh, they have an objection. Where it's like, as a leader, it's like, I know I've heard that before. You know what I mean? So it's like the longer you've done this, the more you're going to hear the same stuff over and over again. And now cushions are mandatory. Okay. Now let me talk to you about 8 understand. Now, some of you guys are big fans of Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you haven't read that one yet, that's one of the most important books to read. That's like one of my top 3s. But the 8 keys to understanding a cushion. Be over the top with your listening skills. A cushion is a statement that acknowledges that you're listening to the prospect. Here, you've heard their objection and recognize its importance. When a prospect states an objection, your first action should be to use a cushion for that objection. So a cushion makes people feel okay opening up to you, right? If you try to get into an argument with people and maybe you force them there, but they don't like you, right? Like you got to have a cushion, right? So a cushion does not agree or disagree or answer an objection. It just makes people feel good, right? By showing empathy, not sympathy. We don't want to feel like them and be like, yeah, it is far. You know what I mean? It's like you want to have empathy for them, right? Like I know how you feel. A lot of people felt like that. Here's they found out. That's like a basic cushion, but you want to show empathy that you do understand and that they do have a valid concern, even though you've heard their objection a million times before. You hear it like you're hearing it for the first time. You know what I mean? Like you want to make people like, whoa, that's such a good objection. You know what I mean? Like not saying that you want to say like, oh, I never heard that before. I've never heard that before. You want to look like, oh my God, that's, you know what I mean? You want to kind of make them feel like that objection that most people want to be heard and understood, right? So showing empathy, you create more positive and trusting relationships with your prospects, right? Or your new people. So the number 5, is the number one thing people want more than anything else is to be understood. Be sure to listen to the objection, even though you maybe have heard it many times before. Wait until they are done sharing their objection, then use a cushion. I can appreciate your concern. Thank you for sharing that with me, or I know how you feel. I felt the same way. Understand them and jump on their side. Be an assistant buyer. Never argue with somebody. You understand what I'm saying? Like I tell people all the time, it's like last thing I want to do, right, is force you to get rich. You know what I mean? Like you're like you end up becoming wealthy, and you're like, I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to become successful. You know what I mean? Like you like basically made me become successful. I'm not fighting with people, right? It's like if somebody, you know what I mean? But it's also if you're with your friend and they pull a gun out and they're like, hey, I'm gonna shoot my foot off. What are you gonna do? Right? You're not gonna be like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? You got another one. You're gonna be like, hey, look, you know what? I know how you feel. Sometimes I get mad at my feet too. Let's put that gun down. Let's not shoot our foot off, right? So you got to make sure you don't argue with people, right? So now we're going to talk about why cushions are mandatory. Okay, help them overcome their objection, right? These are the objections. Okay, let's say like I'll go if my team goes. Like if you haven't heard that one, you haven't been around, right? Then you repeat the objection every time. It's like, look. So basically, what you're telling me is like you really want to go to the event, but you're kind of waiting for your team to go first, right? You know what I mean? Like, you know, in your mind, it's like, all right, yeah, like people are going to follow that kind of weak leadership. But what do you say, right? It's like you use a cushion. Hey, look, man, that makes sense. I can see your point of view. You know what I mean? Here's what I found out, right? Is if you're a leader and you want your team to you want if you want your team to commit, uh, and then you're going to commit. It's kind of like what I found out as a leader. You're the leader of your team, right? If you commit, your team's going to commit, right? So you're the kind of the lead dog of your organization, right? And if you commit to going to the event, then your team's going to kind of commit to going to the event. People follow strength, right? Not weakness, right? So would you agree, like a dog wags its tail, the tail doesn't wag the dog, right? And they're gonna be like, yeah, I'm like, dude, don't worry about it. Let's get you this event, right? Trust me, there's nothing better for you than being at this event, right? So because you already know if they're staying at home and they're seeing pictures, it's kind of like they feel bad. Most people commit right away, right? Whenever the event's over, because it's kind of like my daughter, like a long time ago, like when Justin Bieber first started, she was like, my daughter was like in middle school or something, maybe elementary school. And my wife got her tickets in January for a concert in August. And she got 4 tickets for my wife, my daughter, and two of her best friends. Every time Justin Bieber song came on, she was like, oh, I'm going, right? It was like, you understand, like they get it. That's why most people want to register right away for the event, because every time they talk about the event, they're like, I got tickets, I got tickets, I got tickets, I got tickets. So you want to get people to commit first minute, not last minute, right? And we'll talk about that at the convention, but make sure no matter what, there's people that haven't committed, right? You got to knock them off the fence, right? You got to have posture, you got to have strength, you got to have certainty, because you want to help them get to where they want to go. So here's another objection you might hear. I'll go to the next one. You already know in your mind, if you don't go to this one, you ain't going to be around for the next one. You know what I mean? Like, that, but you can't really say that, right? So, it's kind of like I go over it as like repeat the objection. Oh, so basically, like, you really want to be successful, but you're going to want to wait till the next event, right? 6 months from now. That's what you're saying. And they're going to be like, yeah. I just can or whatever. Look, what I have found out is attending a convention puts you 6 months ahead of the people that don't attend. Would you rather be in the same place or 6 months ahead of where you are right now? Right? Boom, let's go. Let's get you to this event. Trust me on this. You're going to have the time of your life. Nothing's going to be better. Boom, let's go. Get them committed, right? Here's another one. I don't want to go, right? I don't want to go. I don't like getting excited, right? You hear people, I don't like to get all excited and pumped up and fired up about my dreams and goals. Literally, sometimes when people say that, right? So what I'm saying is like, look, so basically like you're the type of person you really don't like getting like, real excited and stuff like that. Or you're kind of the person that really doesn't want to go to the event, right? And they're like, yeah, look, I totally know how you feel. Here's what I learned is like, you're not in Riman until you've been to a convention, right? The top money earners never miss conventions. And like, should we follow kind of what's already proven to work, right? That's probably a pretty good idea, right? Yeah, okay. Trust me on this. It's going to be the best idea. So you're gonna remove objections, and usually these are just basically these little objections. The most important, like at the back of it, is usually they don't think they're going to win, right? And that's why they have to be at the event, but because they're going to get the confidence. I might go, maybe I'll try. You guys ever heard those numbers? If you haven't heard that, you haven't been in the business long enough. Basically, like, okay, so like you want to go, but you might go, right? Is that what you're saying? Like you really want to be successful, but maybe you're kind of like maybe about it. Like you really want to be successful and win and go to the event, but you're gonna kind of try. Is that what basically what you're saying? Totally understand. Like, I'm so glad that you said that. I felt like that before too. You know what I mean? But what I learned is people once, what I learned is people, once you make a decision, 100% commitment, your potential customers and planners will feel your commitment. If you want to make a fire, what comes first? The fire or the wood, right? You got to put the wood in if you want to create a fire. Trust me, get committed, make a decision to be at this event. Okay. And guess what's going to happen? Your customers are going to feel you because they know you're committed. They can feel your passion, right? Your planners, people you talk to about becoming potential planners, they're going to feel you're committed. And then people are going to want to follow you. People follow strength, not weakness. Let's get you to the event. Let's make a commitment. Let's not try it. Let's do it. Right. So you got to help people because they're going to give you like that kind of, right. You got to realize most people aren't successful yet. Right. And you've got to help them become successful. That's really what you're doing. And how you're doing that is making them feel good about their rejection, but you're really getting their mind off that because the real reality is anybody can make it to the event. You got to understand this. If somebody won the lottery and that weekend they had to be there to pick up their $1 million lottery, you think they'd be there? Come on. You better believe it, right? I'm not making money yet. Doesn't seem worth it. Whatever it is, right? So once again, repeat the objection. So basically, like you want to become successful in Riman, but you're not making money yet, right? Or like we want to make this thing happen, right? Whenever you got started, you told me that you wanted to buy your family a new house so everybody had a place to gather for the holidays, right? That's what you said. So you want to make that happen, right? We haven't got that yet, right? So we want to do that. But it doesn't seem worth it to go to the convention. That's basically what you're saying, right? I totally understand. Like, look, that's that. I mean, when I got started, that's exactly how I thought, right? I didn't know it. I'd never been to an event. But what was I to know, right? But what I learned is people that attend events, right? The people that are at the convention, they make 100 times more money than the people that don't go. So how much money do you want to make, right? If you want to be successful, would you rather be with the group that makes 100 times more than everybody else or the group that makes 100 times less? You know what I mean? Like every top money earner Riman will be there. You know what I mean? Like you'll see people flying over from all these countries and stuff, right? So you understand, like the people that are there are making 100 times more than the people that aren't. The people that aren't there are the ones that are not going to be around by next convention. You know that, but you can't really say that. You don't want to like, because if they don't decide they go, they don't want them to be like, all right, well, means I'm going to be, not going to be successful, but you got to have a backbone, not a wishbone, right? So here's what I want to tell you. I went to an event already. You ever heard that one? If you haven't heard that one, you haven't been in the business long enough. So basically, like you really want to make it happen at Riman, but you've already been to an event, right? So you're kind of like thinking like, why should I go to another one? This is the same stuff, right? I mean, like I totally felt like that too. After my first event, you know what I mean? Or a lot of I've got top people that felt like that too. If it wasn't necessarily you don't want to lie and say that was me, right? If someone says I got to talk to if someone tells me I got to talk to my husband, I'm not going to be like, yeah, I got to talk to my husband too. You know what I mean? Like, but you repeat the objection, like you want to make it happen in Riman bad. You see the big picture, you see the vision here. But like you've already been to an event, right? So like, why do I need to go to another one? Like that's what you're thinking, right? Yeah. Look, man, I know exactly how you could think that way, right? But what I learned is the top people been to events too, right? And that's why they never miss events, right? Because motivation is kind of like brushing our teeth, right? You got to do it more than once, right? You know what I mean? So it's the same way. Like I was just like you. I know how you feel, but like we got to get you that event, right? We got to get you that event. It's kind of like bathing, right? Whatever. But it's like that's the reality. Like you never know what event's going to wake somebody up. And I've got directors that it took, many events before they had that aha moment, right? You never know where that awakening might be, right? So here's what I want to share with you. I got to go through this faster. My spouse won't let me go. Repeat the objection, use a cushion. What I learned is your spouse will be excited once you start making money, a lot of money. It's easier to beg for forgiveness sometimes than it is to ask for permission, right? Let's go. Let's get you to the event. Then I can't figure out how to use hotel.com to book a hotel room. This is one that my wife was just dying at. She heard like somebody say, Tim, I had one of my people say they can't figure out how to get a hotel. My wife's like, after the call, she's like, who? She walked by she's like, who are your people? Like, have they never done anything before? But it's like sometimes, like for me, my wife usually books everything for me, right? Because I'm like not the smartest guy in the world, and I'll usually book the wrong date or something. I'll always mess up my reservations, so I can totally understand how people can't figure out how to get in a hotel room. You know what I mean? Like literally, because my wife does all that. Maybe their spouse does it all for them, right? But you got to just kind of have, you got to be able to help. I mean, sometimes people don't know how to use Uber, right? They're like, I don't know how to use Uber, right? What is I go to an airport and get an app called Uber? How does that work? I've never done that before. So sometimes that happens, right? Where people really aren't technologically advanced, or maybe their spouse does all their booking for them. You just got to tell them, like, look, I totally understand. Like, you repeat the objection, use a cushion. Look, let me show you how to book a room. Let me show you how to use Uber. It's super easy. Let me show you what everybody's doing, right? Let me show you what everybody's doing. That's what I always just say. Let me help you overcome these objections. I will go if you pay for it or I don't have the money. Repeat the objection, use a cushion. What I learned to be true is why people get the most out of it is because of the commitment they make, right? When people buy their own stuff, you would have to agree with me, right? We take better care of it, don't we? Yeah, right. It's kind of like that. I'm busy that weekend. Repeat the objection, use a cushion. What I've learned to be true is when you find a way or make a way, right, for things to happen that seem most impossible, is when you grow the most, right? So how can we find a way to be able to rearrange your schedule? You just got to have a backbone, not a wishbone. And people can't go, they won't go. But the number one in college, the number one thing that professors hear is my grandmother died. You understand that? Which means it's obviously not true if everybody grandma's dying, right? That's why some professors will start class real early, right? It's like if your grandma died, the funeral's not going to be at 8 in the morning. Get to class, right? So, but I'm just telling you, like, you're going to have people make up stories sometimes, right? That's just the way it is, right? Usually the spouse one is it. Like if somebody asks me to do something, right? Or I ask somebody to do something, they're like, let me talk to my wife. I'm like, oh my God. Like, not that they don't want to talk to their wife, but I already know that's a nice way of saying no, right? So I've got to overcome that objection, right? And it's not hard to do that, right? Overcoming objection is super simple. I'm scared to travel alone. You'll hear that one, right? Uh, Repeat the objection, use the cushion. What I've learned to be true is when you get out of your comfort zone is when you grow the most. We definitely want to grow, don't we? Look, let's find a way to make it happen. I'll be there for you at the airport to pick you up, or you can arrive whenever some of my other teams arrive, or whatever, right? Whatever. Figure out a way to make it happen for them, make them feel confident, comfortable. Just take notes for me. I heard somebody told me that one. Objections, repeat the objection, use the cushion. What I've learned to be true is when you're at the event in person, you will feel the heartbeat of the company, right? You'll feel the heart of the company and meet every one of the top money earners in the company, right? I can't give you a haircut over the phone, right? No, right? So you got to be at the event. Trust me when I tell you this is going to be the best thing that's ever happened to you. I like to use bold statements, is what I was told, right? Because you've got to get them to the event. I tell people like this: look, I'll look. I'll give you a situation. We got nothing to lose. You come to the event, whatever you spend on the hotel room, the event, right? If you sit through the event, the entire event, and take notes, right? You're not hanging out in the bathroom, right, or hanging out at the bar, not in the event. But if you hang out, if you're in the event, taking notes, and you're serious about the event, if you walk out of the event not excited, I'll pay everything that you paid. I'll give it back to you. And it's gonna be like, well, I'll never do that. I've said that in big audiences, but I've said that probably to about 100 or 200,000 people in my career. Okay. Never had anybody ask me for the money back. You understand what I'm saying? Because when people come out of that event, they're jacked. They're excited, right? It's too far. I think I did it's too far. Right. But it doesn't matter. Same type of thing. I don't think I could be successful. That's really the big one. Once again, repeat the objection, use a cushion. What I've learned to be true is in order for us to be able to become successful, we have to be willing to learn how to become a success. Obviously, you'd agree with me. There's no better place to learn how to become a success than the convention, right? Wouldn't you? Okay, let's get you to the event no matter what. So you're just basically showing people confidence. That's the biggest thing you want to do, right? You want to show confidence. Even if they can't go and they don't go, they know it's legit. They know that you believe in it. I'm trying to convey strength. I'm trying to let them know that this is how I feel, and let them know I care about them. I let them know, like, look, if you go to the event, I don't get paid for that. It's not like the company breaks me off or the airlines breaks me off or the hotel breaks me off. I don't make any money on it. Okay. And I'm already doing pretty well financially. So I don't need you to be at the event. I need you to be at the event for you. Like, I don't want to see you watch me become wealthy, and then 5 years from now, you look back and you're devastated. Okay. I'm here to help you get to where you want to go. But you got to help me, right? If you won't participate in your own rescue, what am I going to do? If I'm throwing you a lifeline and you're fighting it, what am I going to do? Right? I have conversations like that with people because I care about them. because it's true. I don't get paid for them to go to the events, right? But I want to help them become successful. And I know if they ain't at the event, we ain't gonna see them again, right? It's like I already know that. Like there's the chance of them making it in this business, not going to events. Why is that? Because they feel horrible when they hear about all the new products being announced and all the exciting things that are happening. They're like, oh, I wish I was there, right? But I'm telling you, the amount of people that I've helped become successful that came up to me and said, that first event, Tim, you forced me to go. I'm like, yo, I didn't force you to go, okay? You just did chill right there. But they're like literally, Tim, I didn't want to go to the event, but you literally pushed me to go to the event and get out of my comfort zone. I would have never became wealthy if it wasn't for you. Like just because I had a hard-nosed conversation with people. Like that's why I do it. If you knew how many times over the last 30 years I've heard that, right? Usually most companies I'm in average about 3 to 4 conventions a year. We do too. Out of all the events that I've been people to, think about it. 30 years in this industry, right? You're talking about over 100 conventions I've been to. Do you know how many people came up to me after every convention? I've never had somebody not come up to me and tell me that. It's like, dude, that's what I love to hear. Mainly down the road, 5 years from now, when everybody's successful and everybody's wealthy, that stayed the course and worked hard and learned and went to the events, they're going to come to me they come to me sometimes in tears. That's what I love. It'll be on a retreat, right? It's always on retreats, right? People come up, they're like, you don't even know, man, but I was on a call with you and you like forced me to come and I became successful and I didn't want to go. And I'm like, dang, dude, like that's what the power of words has. That's what having a backbone, not a wishbone, will do, right? But it's short notice. If I only knew earlier, repeat the objection, use a cushion. We always do that. What I've learned to be true is that the people that get the most out of the event are the newest people that just got started. With that being said, right, that means nobody's going to be able to get more out of this event than you. We got to get you the event, right? It's like true. Like the people that just get started, that I push the event, like the first convention, whenever Danny and I started working together in a company in '04, Mr. Danny Bay, we just got in. The event was like 2 weeks away, and he brought like 105. We had like 200 some odd people there at the event, and that was the beginning, right? I mean, we blew it up after that, but it was like you don't realize how powerful events are, right? Because you go to them. It's the people that don't go to them that fail or don't succeed, or you never hear from them again. They don't come back and tell you, hey, look, if I would have went to that event, I would have been successful. You understand what I'm saying? So you don't get to hear from the people that don't go. You only hear from the people that do go, right? Because the other ones don't become successful, right? They don't, not always, like you'll have somebody do that, but I'm talking about big money people, right? People that really become successful is that they want to win, right? I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for that. I mean, that's a silly one. Not ready for what, right? Making money. But repeat the objection, use a cushion, always make people feel good about their objection. You know, what I've learned to be true is once you go, once you go, you will get the information you need to be ready, right? You know, you want to be ready to become successful, don't you? All right, let's get to the event so we can get ready, right? Let's get ready for you to be able to win, right? So you want to make sure it's not so much what you say, it's how you say it, your confidence and your unwavering belief in the convention. That's how it is for me. It's not like I have to memorize something. It's I just like to me, whenever somebody gives me an objection, in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, if you could walk in my shoes, we wouldn't even be having this dialogue. You know what I mean? Like we wouldn't have this dialogue. 100% we wouldn't be talking about this. 0% chance we would talk about this. Because if you could see what I've seen, if you've experienced what I've experienced, you would know you got to be there. Right? So for me, I'm non-negotiable, non-debatable. I do not compromise on events. That's the one thing I don't compromise on. Like if somebody that I'm working with directly is like, no, I'm not going to go to the event. They can still participate and I'll work with them like in groups, but I'm not going to work with them individually. And I'm not saying that to be mean. It's just because I know they're not coachable and teachable, right? It's like the best investment anybody can ever make is what? In their own growth and development, right? So we want to make sure people want to grow and develop. There's no place. Like you can't do it at a pop-up. You definitely can't do it on a Zoom. Can't do it at a one-on-one, right? You can't do it at an HQ tour. It only can happen when? At the convention. There's nothing like a convention. A lot of people are like, how do I double my business, Tim? It's not hard, dude. You've got to promote the event like crazy. Here's what I've documented throughout my career. You get about 100 people to the event. Riman's it's a little bit higher. To me, it seems like about 75, maybe even 60. But from my experience in 30 years, is 100 people at the event equals about a six-figure income. 1,000 people at the event equals about $1 million income. That's typically what it is, right? 5,000 people equals usually about, right, $5 million, you know. So you kind of know that's the perimeters. And the reason being is because the people that attend the events are the ones that produce, right? They're the ones that are committed. They're the ones that are successful. And that's where the aha moment comes. Where's the aha moment come? At the convention. You understand, you're not going to walk in the event and walk out wealthy, right? But what happens is what? That's where the decision is made to make a commitment to the process. The process is what changes your life, but the decision to engage in the process or commit to the process is at the event. Guaranteed. You can't create it anywhere else, right? You can't. Not like that. So people always ask, how do I double my volume? Get more people to the event. Because you'll have random people, every leader seen it, that was kind of just a face in the crowd that went to an event, mind blown, done. Like I always talk about Mabel Ma because she said it at her senior director promotion. Mabel's like, she's got 3 director legs. She's like, I hope she gets it done by this convention, but she's like the closest person, like one of the closest people to national director. And Mabel said in her convention, I was bawling, crying. It was in Chinese. I don't even speak Mandarin, but I could feel her heart. And she works out of the Irvine office with Betsy, and I was like, I see her all the time, and I love her. And she's like, I came to that first event, I sat in the back, and I felt like a face in the crowd. She goes, I didn't like that feeling, so I went to work. And then she skipped her director promotion because out of that event, she skipped it, went to senior director by the next convention, just went wild. So it's like, I've seen that. And that was her speech. Like, that's her reality. It's like, you never know. If you saw Mabel Ma, you would have been like, all right, she's the one, right? You want to see, she's just a nice, sweet lady. But she came out of there. You can't judge a person, right? You can't measure the size of somebody's heart. You can't tell how bad somebody wants it. That's why you got to get them. You don't know what that leader's going to look like. You understand? You can't predetermine it. Okay? Let me explain to you guys what I'm talking about, right? And I'm going to go over this. You guys know you love the products, transfer your emotion, boom, you get a new customer. You love the opportunity, share your enthusiasm, transfer your emotion, you get a new planner. You love the events, you share your enthusiasm, transfer your emotion, boom, you get people to the convention, right? That's super simple. We all know that. Our business is about raising and transferring belief, okay? But I want to show you guys this. I'm not going to talk about this one. I'm going to talk about this one. This is the prime example of you can't know what's in somebody's heart, okay? A lot of you guys don't know who this person is. And after I tell you who this person is, many of you won't still know, okay? But if you look it up, you'll be blown away by who this guy is, okay? This guy's name is Cliff Young, okay? Now, let me explain to you guys. Who is Cliff Young? In 1983, Australia hosted an ultra marathon, a 573.7-mile foot race from Sydney to Melbourne, okay? Professionals from all over the world came to participate. And guess who won? A 61-year-old farmer named Cliff Young. A farmer. 61-year-old farmer named Cliff Young. When the race started, Cliff was so far behind. Day 5, he was 14 hours and 4 5 days, 14 hours and 4 minutes later at 1:25 a.m., Cliff won the race. 10 hours before number 2. How did this happen? Back in the days, right, throughout Cliff's life since he was a little kid, he would chase 2,000 sheep on foot for 2 or 3 days, okay, on his 2,000-acre farm. Other runners would run 18 hours and sleep 6, but Cliff didn't know that you couldn't stop. Cliff didn't understand the rules. He didn't know that you could actually stop. So he imagined chasing sheep and trying to outrun the lightning storm. So he would go chase sheep in a lightning storm. What? To go make sure and he just loved his sheep. He didn't want him to he was like, I got to get all my sheep to the convention, right? Cliff was like, he cared too much about his sheep, so he'd never stop. Cliff he had a $10,000 prize money, and guess what he did? He gave it to the 2nd to 6th place runners. because he felt bad because he didn't know he was supposed to stop. He didn't know he was supposed to sleep. He just ran and beat everybody. This is not like, and this is like all documented. There's like 2 or 3 movies about this guy. Like, this is unbelievable. 61-year-old farmer beat the world champions because he didn't understand the rules. He didn't realize that he couldn't stop. He just kept on keeping on. He kept on moving forward. He kept on giving it his all. He kept on doing his best. He kept on putting one foot in front of the other over and over and over again. Doesn't matter if you're 61-year-old Cliff Young. What matters is, what are you willing to do? How committed are you? How bad do you want to win? You got to get to that point no matter what, where you say, look, this is it, right? This is my time to make it happen. I'm going to be a success. I'm going to win no matter what. This is my time. This is my chance. Over, under, or through. I'm getting there. I'm going to go on fire today. And I'm going to set up calls with my team that isn't going to the event. I'm going to start knocking everybody off the fence. I'm going to double the amount of people I have at convention. The only limitations that you have are your own belief. The only limitations you have is the 6 inches between your left and right ear. That's the only thing stopping you to get to where you want to go. And once you make a decision in your heart, you make a decision in your mind that nothing can stop you. Somebody complains, bad seed, bad seed. You understand? You keep on keeping on no matter what. You're all in. You say, man, I'm all in on Riman. I'm getting to the top. I'm getting everybody to convention. I'm going to make sure everybody's there because I care about my team and I want to see my team win. This is my time. This is my chance. You got to be thinking this. This is my time. This is my chance. I'm going to the top. Over, under, or through. I'm getting there. You got to ask yourself right now, what do you look like when you're on fire? What do you look like when you're on fire for your goals and dreams? When you got that eye gaze that says, man, I'm up to something and you want to join me. What does that version of you look like? Be that person. Make the commitment. Get the job done. Over, under, or through. Nothing can stop me. Give me a challenge, I'll overcome it. Give me an obstacle, I'll go around it. I'll go through it. Doesn't matter. I'm getting there. I'm going to win. I'm ready to step up. I'm ready to get committed. This is it. I'm committed now. I'm running now. I'm going to run all the way to convention. I'm going to get some new team leaders promoted so they can be at the team leader party. I'm going to get some new people promoted, right, so they can walk this stage. I'm going all in right here, right now. Today is a brand new day. Today is a brand new day. Today is it. We're going to make it happen. This is our time to shine. This is our time to make it happen. Let's lock arms, make sure everybody on this call, nobody gets left behind. Care enough about everybody to make sure that they don't get left behind. This is it. This is our time. This is our chance. Let's give it everything we got. Hope we got some value today on this call. Appreciate you. Love you. Can't wait to see all of you guys in Long Beach. Let's make it happen, everybody.